What's up everyone, welcome to part 2 of my turtle conservation experience. First, if you haven't seen my first video on turtle conservation, I really strongly suggest you that you go and watch it because it will allow you to understand so much better this video. For the ones sticking around, let's dive in. The Longtenga Turtle Watch organization started in 2013 on the Longtenga Island in eastern Malaysia. I went there for a week and the work there mainly consists of night patrols on the beach to dissuade any possible poachers, but mainly to see if there are any turtles coming up the beach. After that, I went back to the mainland, close to a town called Kuala Dungun, and there the organization was working hand in hand with a resort called Tanjung Jara Resort. This allowed us to have the turtle hatcheries on their beach, but also to be in contact with tourists and locals that would go to the resort. During the day, at least one of us was at the visitor hut. So what we call the visitor hut was a hut by our hatcheries that were next to the resort, and someone would be there to answer any questions. The rest of the team would be at the office working on sending email updates, entering the data in the computer, creating social media posts, and even preparing name tags and baskets to put over the nest. As I said in a previous video, in Malaysia it is still legal there to consume and sell green turtle eggs. So the work that we were doing was very tricky because we had to work around the legal system. There were basically 4 different aspects. The first one is nest relocation. Thanks to a nest adoption program, we were able to buy the eggs from a tenderholder before he went to sell it on the market. This practice meant that we had to have a good relationship with some tenderholders, and we had to train them on how to handle the eggs without breaking the fetus. How it would normally work is that the tenderholder would call us during the night or early morning when a turtle has come to its beach to lay her eggs, and we would go to the hatcheries and prepare the new nest. So dig the sand, dig a nice hole as the mother would, and then as soon as he got to us with the eggs, we would relocate them and count them at the same time. Then we would close the nest and we would give him the money. The second aspect of work was the nest checks. On day 37 of incubation, we are going to dig in the nest to check on the eggs to see if they are healthy, if they have any issue. For example, if there is a fungus infection and it's really bad, we're going to take out the eggs that are completely covered in fungus to prevent any spreading. After checking the eggs, we would take a photo with the name tag to send to the donors, and then we would repeat this process until we find babies in the nest. Once we saw babies, we would check the stage that they're at, so we would look at their belly button, and then we would take a picture for the adoptee and we would put them back. We're only going to check every evening at 5 p.m. to see if they are close to the surface or not. During the nest checks, we allow the people at the resort to come and see. So we do a small turtle talk. We talk about the organization, the work that we do, the conservation status of marine turtles. So it's very educational. The third aspect is hatchling release. So when baby turtles were ready to hatch, we would decide if we wanted to make it a private or public release. If we decided that it was going to be a public release, then we would put out a sign at the reception of the resort. We would also have to train the public to some behavioral rules, such as to not use flashlights. They were not allowed to cross the lines that we'd put up, and they were not allowed to touch the babies. When we weren't organizing a public release, we had night shifts where we had to check if any babies were out of their nest, and then if there were any babies, we would have to do it on our own. A few days after the release, when we're sure that normal babies are going to come out, we would do a PHI, which is a post-hatch inspection. Basically, we would dig out the nest and dig out all the shells, count them one by one, and this is to calculate the hatchling survival. And the eggs that would not have hatched, we would open them and try to figure out why. So it could be because a crab pitched a hole into it, or it could be because of fungus, and sometimes there was just no explication. Like, I remember one day we found a baby inside the shell, almost ready. And sometimes as well, there were babies that were not fully formed. For example, the eggs that are at the bottom of the nest, sometimes it's too hard for them because of the weight of the other eggs to come out of their shells. So there was this one baby, we helped him to get out, but sadly his shell had hardened in that position. So we still released them in the ocean, but this one had a very small chance of survival. And then lastly, the fourth aspect was the scientific research, which goal was to find out if the moisture content in the nest will affect the fitness of the hatchlings. And every day we had to make measurements, and once the babies started to hatch, we had to count them all, and then some of them had to do a crawling test on the slide, and then do a swim test, and then we would release them all. During this experience, I learned a lot about teamwork as I was living and working with the same people every day, and I met friends for life. It was such a good experience, very motivating. It was hard work, but so rewarding. I also learned about the importance of working with local community when you do conservation work. They have very valuable knowledge, and things will only change if you work with them. But the situation in Malaysia was very frustrating because when a tenderholder didn't want to sell the eggs to us, if he preferred to eat them or to sell it on the market, then we couldn't really say anything because it was his right, and we didn't want to jeopardize our whole relationship with them. I think this experience was also a milestone in my realization of the importance of law and policy in conservation. I'm actually going to start a 2-week university training in June in animal law, so if you're interested, I'm going to do a video on this as well. But there is hope for the turtles because there is a comeback of turtles all around the world, and the state of Terengganu has just announced that it is going to implement a new ban on all turtle eggs. I found the Longtengah Turtle Watch organization while scrolling on the Conservation Careers website. They had posted something about volunteer positions that they have on the island. So I did some research about the organization, and I was really tempted, but I basically didn't want to pay for working for an organization. So what I did is I sent an email, and I basically said I'd be really interested to work with you. Do you have any intern positions? And then I got a reply saying, yes, we actually have one more intern position. So I was really excited, but very fast we realized that the dates from my uni exam and from the start of the internship was overlapping, and my correspondent told me it was a deal breaker. But because I really wanted this internship, I did not let go, and I sent another email selling myself like never. I basically explained to my correspondent why they needed me. My email was convincing because I got the internship. If you're looking for conservation experience, don't be shy. Send emails, chat with people online using social media, ask for advice, and they might, if they don't have a position that interests you, they might recommend you to another organization. The worst case scenario is that you don't get a response. And then the best case is that you get loads of information and tips from that person. So don't be shy. I think I have said enough. I really hope that you find my experience helpful and interesting. I would just like to add that if you want to help the Longtengah Turtle Watch organization, you can either adopt a nest, you can volunteer for them on the Longtengah Island, but you have to pay to be a volunteer there. It's really reasonable and it's an amazing experience. And then the third way to get involved is to apply to their intern program. It is an experience that I cannot recommend anymore. Thanks for watching until the end. I'm signing out. See you next time.